Welcome to PACTV Community News. I am Zach Dolan.
And I'm Julie Thompson.
Welcome back to PCN. It's a brand new season and we are thrilled to be back at it.
On tonight's show, we meet back up with True Rep's creative director to check out their new space in Kingston, and we meet up with the development team behind the Plymouth Harborwalk Apartments.
We recap the Kingston Waterfront Festival, and Leslie Cutler is on set today for another Mindful Moments.
We're excited to be back, and we start tonight's program in Plymouth. If you've been paying attention to local news in the past couple of years, you probably know that Entergy's Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station is scheduled to close in May of 2019. In recent news, Entergy announced a plan to sell the power station after the shutdown to Holtec International for decommissioning. Entergy says that Holtec International can decommission the plant faster than they could. The sale prompted a special meeting of the Nuclear Decommissioning Citizens Advisory Panel. PCN was there to learn more.
Tonight's meeting is very important because it's the first opportunity since Entergy announced that they had plans to sell the decommissioning and the facility, Pilgrim, to a newly formed joint venture between Holtec International, a very well-known company who's provided the dry cask storage in other locations, and a combination of other companies with similar experience in the decommissioning business. This really is the first opportunity for the public, the elected leaders, and the panel to hear from those participants directly. Over the last 12 months, the panel has been engaged primarily in education and in learning the issues. This is a citizens advisory panel, although we have some very, very bright people on it who are experts in the given area. It is a citizens panel. And the role was to provide advice and counsel to the governor, the legislature, and the various departments of the Commonwealth to help make sure that the decommissioning of Plymouth was done in a safe, financially responsible, environmentally responsible, and also to make sure that the community was not further disrupted by becoming a de facto nuclear waste storage site. There's a whole series of very important issues that we're concerned with. It ranges from how do we make sure that all the employees are properly taken care of? These are our neighbors. We want to make sure that it's not closing up shop and all their jobs are gone. How do we make sure, for example, that the spent nuclear materials are handled properly and are safeguarded over the decades to come? The fact of the matter is that Plymouth, right along Cape Cod Bay, a very environmentally sensitive area, will be a de facto nuclear waste site for the foreseeable future, and it could be a long time. So it's critically important that everybody understands what this new partnership brings to the table and how financially they will be able to support the long-term safe storage of that material and the restoration of the site so that it once again can be used by the town of Plymouth.
Entergy is not in the business of decommissioning nuclear power plants. We're in the business of running nuclear power plants. So when we made the decision to shut down, we started to look at the best opportunity for another company that specializes in that work to take over the decommissioning of the plant. And Holtec has got a partner, SNC Lavalin, and together they have decades of experience in working on these kinds of projects. There has been a change in the market for power, and it's a little complicated, but Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station, along with other power plants in New England, rely on power prices that are set by an independent entity called ISO New England. And it's a very complicated factor, but it's driven largely by natural gas prices. Natural gas prices have been low in recent years. Power prices have been low, so the revenue that the plant gets has gone down. At the same time, the cost to operate the plant has been rising and the revenue is diminishing, so that makes the plant unprofitable. And under those circumstances, we made the decision to shut down. Well, the plant will shut down around June 1st, 2019, and that's certain. The transfer to Holtec could be shortly after that. It depends on the regulatory schedule. What has to happen for this sale to go through is Entergy has to file an application with Holtec at the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the Federal Nuclear Regulatory Commission. The NRC, as they're called, reviews that application and then can either approve it or reject it. If they reject it, then Entergy would continue to be the owner, and we would have to manage the decommissioning in some other way. But if the NRC approves it, then the sale would go through. And we don't have a specific timetable for when the NRC would act. They don't have a set schedule by which they have to make a decision. But our expectation is that we will file that application in the fourth quarter of 2018, and we would hope to have a decision from the NRC by the end of 2019. So that's the general schedule that we're working with. But the first thing that happens is when we shut off the plant, we take all of the nuclear fuel that's in the reactor and put that in the spent fuel pool. It's a big pool of water where other spent fuel has already been placed. Once you get all the fuel out of the reactor, the next step is you take all the fuel that's in the pool, including the most recent loading, and put that onto what's called dry cask canister storage on site. And then once you've gotten all of the nuclear fuel into dry cask containers, you've dealt with about 99% of the radioactive material that's on a site with a nuclear plant. So you've got that safely stored. And then what's left is an industrial site. And all the buildings have to be taken down. All of the underground pipes that are near the surface have to be dealt with. And you have to regrade the property. But it's just a large deconstruction project at that point. And that takes, after you've dealt with all the spent nuclear fuel, that probably represents about 60% of the time for the work to be done. Entergy will just focus on its utility business in the South. Entergy is a utility provider to customers in Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas. It's a traditional utility where we own the generation, manage the transmission lines, own the distribution lines, and provide service to the customers.
All opposed? Thank you very much.
The next Nuclear Decommissioning Citizens Advisory Panel meeting is September 19th at 6:30 at Plymouth Community Intermediate School's Little Theater.
We stopped by a few true repertory rehearsals at Pembroke's Community Center in the past, but recently we stopped by and visited them in their new home. True Rep is opening its new season at the Beale House in Kingston. PCN stopped by rehearsal to see how it's going.
When I look for space, people will often say to me, "Oh, I'm so sorry, we don't have a stage." And I'll say to them, "Well, that's okay," and they'll look at me like they don't know what's going on. In terms of the aesthetic that we use, we focus a lot from a production value perspective of focusing on the storytelling, meaning that we don't build large sets. We won't have, 15 different set changes and set pieces running around here and there. In this particular space, we'll primarily plan to work on the floor, perform on the floor, and in the case of the fundraiser that we're doing, we're actually going to have the audience on the floor in full round surrounding us. So our aesthetic is really breaking that fourth wall and really involving the audience in the show as if they're another character in the show.
Fool, my boy, F-O-O-F.
The response so far has been great. We're very excited for the upcoming season. We have a season of 4 shows planned between September of this year and June of next year. What I really like about this space, there's a lot that I like about this space. First of all, there's a great sense of community within this space. People are very enthusiastic about having a theater company here in Kingston. We've received nothing but support and curiosity about what this theater is going to bring. The physical space itself is extremely conducive to the type of theater and the type of aesthetic that True Rep has. And it's also incredibly convenient to the surrounding towns because it's about 5 minutes off of exit 9 off of Route 3. So my gut is telling me that we're in the right place at the right time.
As soon as I say Ben Jones, my daughter.
We are actually in the process of choosing our season. The one show that we know for sure, which will go up in late April, early May, is Arthur Miller's The Crucible. So we're very excited about that. And outside of that show, we will have 3 other shows. Our first show will actually go up on October 13th, but we're still in the process of choosing that. We have a resident company of actors, so we're in the final stages of figuring out who's committing to what slots. And from there we say, okay, based on the actors that we have, this is going to be the best show for us to present. But in either event, it'll be a great season that everyone should come out and see.
I think, oh, his little sister.
Good. Okay, so what this is, you're going to move out of the way and you're going to counter out here.
And I would like to take this opportunity to formally welcome one of our new co-hosts and co-anchors, Zach Dolan. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Happy to be here.
Happy to have you. Zach is one of our staff members here at PACTV, and we're going to have a number of staff members who will be sharing the anchor desk with me moving forward. So welcome, Zach.
Thank you so much. Excited. A little nervous at the beginning, but it's been really easy to transition into doing this.
You'll be great.
Thank you.
Thank you. The area known as Cordage Commerce Center will soon be known as Plymouth Station. And the area that used to be home to Plymouth Walmart will soon be home to about 1,000 residents in apartments that will be called Harborwalk. PCN dropped into the groundbreaking ceremony to learn more about this project.
Today is the groundbreaking celebration of Harborwalk at Plymouth Station. Harborwalk is the first phase of what's going to be a master planned project down here. And Harborwalk is going to be a 300-unit apartment project. 25% of it will be affordable. We're building that in 2 phases, so half of it is under construction now, and then half of it will start sometime next year. We've been involved with the site for a couple of years, and our partners Joe and Lou Giannetti have been involved for 12 to 15 years. So this is kind of a culmination of a lot of efforts of a real collaborative process between the Commonwealth, Town of Plymouth, North Plymouth, and then on the private side with the Giannettis and Janko Development, and most recently Cathartis. When the project is completed, Plymouth Station is going to consist of everything you see here, Harborwalk, 300 units, and then on the water we're going to have another 400 units of residential, commercial space, restaurants, recreational and event space. We expect to have 1,000 residents and 1,000 office tenants and a real lively public gathering spot.
We first purchased the front portion of the property, these mill buildings along Court Street, in 2000, and at that time it was a defunct factory outlet mall. We decided that it wasn't feasible to continue the retail path, and we decided that it would be tremendous office space. So we put about a plan to convert these 2 mills behind us, which is about 350,000 square feet, into office space. It didn't happen all at once. It took time. We thought we were going to get some large tenant out of the Route 128 corridor and offer them a more affordable rent and fill the space up with large blocks of space. Curiously enough, it didn't go that way. It was more smaller companies, more centric to Plymouth and the Plymouth area, and even some small companies from the Cape. And slowly leased up. I'm happy to say we're about 95% leased of the 350,000 feet. We're home to over 45 companies and a couple of organizations like Quincy College and Beth Israel are 2 larger tenants of ours. Subsequent to buying the front, we purchased the Waterfront parcel, and then when Walmart decided to build a super Walmart over at Colony Place, we were fortunate enough to be able to buy this parcel and basically reconstitute the old Cordage footprint and really primed it to be developed. We had plans to get out of the ground in 2008. However, as you know, the banks had a meltdown, a credit crisis, and that basically shelved plans to start here with residential. And we kind of treaded water for a few years, focused more on finalizing our goals with the office campus, and then as market conditions changed, turned our attention back to creating a mixed-use environment on this site and also turning our attention to the waterfront.
A number of the units are going to be in the affordable housing pool, which is phenomenal. It's that blend that we are trying to work on so hard in Plymouth. This brings economic development. Also, as one of the speakers mentioned today, it's opening up the waterfront. This area, when it was a cottage company back in the 1800s, it was very difficult to get to the water. You couldn't. So now we're opening up a major part of our coastline, for everyone in the community, to visit Plymouth. And also, it gives renewal to the train station that's here.
It's really an opportunity for us to develop what we think is going to be a real model for transit-oriented smart growth. It's going to have all the elements of the train, the waterfront, public amenities, private function space, and amenities within our buildings, and it's really going to be a pretty vibrant project. As important as all the bells and whistles are, and the amenities and the common spaces and the gym and the co-working space and everything that we're going to have in the building, what is just as important to our residents is the community that they're joining. So we're really excited about the community here at Cortage, in North Plymouth, and in Plymouth. And we think it's a real opportunity for our residents to get involved in the community in a meaningful way, which is really important to them. They come here for the beautiful building and for all the amenities, but they stay here because of the community.
Some of the key points that we're focused on right now is to improve the service of the MBTA train schedule for Plymouth. We think it would be a great asset for the community. As I mentioned in my remarks, almost every vibrant community today has a robust public transportation system, and Plymouth should have one. Our size and scale require it. And we're really looking forward to creating more and more connections with North Plymouth and Plymouth Center along the waterfront. This hike and bike trail is a tremendous asset to the community, and it's being used. And if we can just further connect that to the train station, it will be a great asset for the whole town and visitors alike.
On August 11th, the Kingston Business Association held their third annual Kingston Waterfront Festival. Having been a huge success the past 2 years, this year's festival came with a road race, new vendors, new entertainment, and was held on the recently renovated Grays Beach. Even some less than ideal weather couldn't keep residents and PACTV from coming down and seeing what the town had to offer.
So this year was the third annual Kingston Waterfront Festival. It's a great opportunity for local businesses to come out and get together with members of the community. The event's sponsored and organized by the Kingston Business Association, and they just did a tremendous job this year getting local businesses to jump on board and support the day's events. We kicked off with a 5K road race at 9 a.m. The rain couldn't keep runners away. We had almost 150 folks come out and race, and all of the proceeds from that event and other different things that we're doing here throughout the day will benefit the students of Silver Lake Regional High School and the music department.
So the number one best change that happened for us was building that stage right there. That's going to benefit everyone, anyone who does a concert series on the summer, just like you'd see in Plymouth. But secondly, the snack shack coming down, I think it's great because they're going to put out a bid to build a new snack shack, and that'll be fantastic. And we think they did a fantastic job making the beach beautiful, and the new walkways are paved perfectly. This was the biggest place that we could actually showcase Kingston and know that we're a coastal city. And originally, we also wanted to build something towards Plymouth's 400th birthday. So this is going to be a big deal in 2020, and we wanted to build incrementally each year to make sure that we're a huge success by 2020. We're going to keep building new events like the 5K, and last year we did the movie night. We want to keep doing more and more events that draw people, and we're probably going to put out a Facebook poll to say, maybe here are a few ideas or spitball ideas of what do you think the next big thing that would draw you as a Kingston resident and the local area to this festival. What can be done? And we'll make it happen.
We're so pleased to welcome back on set today Leslie Cutler, who's a licensed psychotherapist, and we have her on often for her section that we call Mindful Moments. Welcome back.
Thank you, Julie. It's great to be here after a little summer break.
Yep.
And here we are back into the swing of things, high gear. I thought it would be appropriate today to talk a little bit about managing our own children's stress and anxiety. So I wanted to talk about 5 ways of maybe doing this, and also how to differentiate between stress and anxiety.
And this is a perfect time of year since we're back to school, and that has its own sets of stress and anxiety for children and for parents.
And for parents, just getting back into that groove, getting out of the house each morning is, quite the challenge.
So what is the difference actually between stress and anxiety disorder?
Okay, so this is how I explain it to the kids in my office. Imagine you're out on the beach. You're in the ocean, you're with your friends, it's a great afternoon, you've got your boogie board going. All of a sudden you notice that everybody on the shore is waving their arms, screaming at you to come in, and all of a sudden you feel a fin rub along your leg.
Okay.
So in that moment, you obviously are enormously stressed.
Sure.
You are moving as quickly as you can to the shore. Now, stress is appropriate in that situation, obviously.
Jaws is getting
Jaws,
you.
yeah. I mean, clearly, that's an enormously stressful situation. But the difference is individuals that are stressed, that feeling will go away.
Yep.
They'll see their family, everybody will hug, everything will be fine.
Yep.
But for the individual that has anxiety, those symptoms continue. So that kind of heightened state that you're in that moment, which is, I got to do something quickly, doesn't seem to dissipate.
So you're always on edge.
You're always on edge.
There's always a tension.
Yes, and sometimes it has absolutely no purpose whatsoever. I mean, there's nothing in the environment that's stimulating it. But what's very confusing for people is that a lot of the physical symptoms of stress and anxiety are the same. It's that rush, it's the chest pounding, it's, the stomach disorder, that dizziness, dry mouth. All those symptoms are common with both.
Okay.
So that's why it's very important to check in and see, okay, is there anything in your environment that's contributing to this, to kind of really watch your child carefully to ensure that these symptoms aren't going on all the time.
Right. And so for a parent, how early can you kind of identify, oh, my child has a lot of stress, or oh, my child might have an anxiety disorder?
I think about when they start entering school,
Okay.
you can start noticing these types of things. And like we were talking about, before said, is so much of what happens in our home can kind of contribute to that as well. And we'll talk more a little bit about that.
Okay.
But I wanted to sort of present some ideas today of ways of helping our kids manage
Stress. Okay, so there's 5 ways. And the first one is to encourage your child to face his or her fears, not to run away from them.
And this is huge, and I got to say, I really struggle with this because so often I'll see my child in a situation that I know is incredibly challenging, and my gut reaction will be to jump in and remove them from it. Rescue them, and it's, it's the mother bear in me. And I see a lot of other parents doing that too. But to be able to step back in just a minute, and as long as they're not in danger, let them ride it out. Because the first time it's terrifying. The second time it's scary. The third time it's unpleasant. And eventually, in time, that one thing won't be so
They're
frightening
learning to
anymore.
figure it out. How to deal with it, how to figure it out.
Navigating it.
Yeah.
And it's not that you're not there to help them.
Yeah.
Obviously you're there. You can kind of say, you've got this. I know you have this skill set. So get back in there.
Yeah.
You can do this.
Yeah.
And that's very much of a challenge, but something that we all need to work on.
And as parents, we need to set that example. So we don't freak out when things happen. We need to stay calm, and then they will learn from that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Second, tell your child it's okay to be imperfect.
Okay.
And, everything about society tells us that we need to perform on a level that's extremely high, that we need to present as if nothing is ever wrong. But there's something about being real. There's something about learning from mistakes, allowing your kid to fall down and realize, like, okay, maybe ice skating isn't my thing. or whatever it is,
Yeah.
you know, or hey, I'm tone deaf and I'm trying to be a great singer, and that's just not going to work for me.
Right.
So, you know, find the few things that your child exceeds at,
Yeah.
and push them to perform very, very well in
At
that
that,
area.
right.
And recognize that, hey, you know, we are all limited in our own ways.
Yep. Now, can I just play devil's advocate here for 1 second?
Absolutely.
I know there's a movement, or it has been in the past. Sometimes, in a situation, everyone who participates gets a participation trophy or a ribbon,
Right.
and there are no winners. There is no first place, second place. What kind of a message does that send, and is that good, or is it good in some cases, or does that teach the wrong message that, yeah, there are some people that are going to be better at something that you are?
Yes, and I so agree with that, and it's so frustrating that everybody gets a trophy, because not everybody deserves a trophy. And then, you know, there's no motivation to perform on a higher level. But I think what happens is so many parents are pushing their child towards perfection that this is the movement of people pushing back. And there needs to be some sort of happy medium in this whole thing.
Right. And your point that go with what your child loves and what your child is good at, and push them towards that. Give them all the tools they can get to get as best as they can be at that.
Right.
Not at everything.
Not at everything.
Okay, number 3, schedule relaxing activities.
I know, this sounds ridiculously cheesy. I know, but there's got to be a place in life where we all stop and breathe.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know our house becomes really chaotic at times with everybody going different directions, and we all seem to kind of lose each other in that process.
Yeah.
You know, when we're running too fast and too hard all the time, tempers are high, levels of irritability are off the charts, and it really is just a matter of time before we have a major meltdown.
Yeah, right.
Somebody does,
right,
you know?
Right.
So I like the idea of saying, you know what, Sunday night, we're going to cook in, we're going to play some games, we're not going to have friends over, maybe we're just going to do something as a family.
Right.
Or, you know, listen, I know everybody's busy this week, but why don't we take Wednesday night and, you know, go out for ice cream? And it doesn't need to be around food, it can be just stay at home and watch a movie, or do something
read a book, or do artwork together, make a project.
Make a project,
do
work on a
something
puzzle,
calm.
something that's going to keep people relaxed and calm.
What's number 4?
All right, number 4.
Speaking of.
Stay calm. You know,
Speaking
how
of
often
calm.
do we see toddlers running, right?
Yeah.
They just learn to walk, they start running, they wipe out.
Yeah.
Flat on their face. The first thing they all do is look back at mom or dad.
Yep.
And if mom or dad is holding their breath, the child is going to react in that way.
Right.
They're going to hysterically cry.
Yeah.
But if the parent's like, hey, you're okay,
Yeah.
help them get up and move along their way, then
That was a good fall. You did that well. You did that gracefully.
absolutely, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Then that really reflects the response of the child.
Right.
So our children are mirrors of ourselves.
Yes.
So it's like, for those moments where you're feeling really, you know, a lot of anticipatory anxiety, or you're feeling really, you know, on edge, it's like, take a moment and realize that no matter how much you try to fake it, your own kids are watching you.
Oh yeah, you set the
And
tone.
You set the
And
tone.
even if you're pretending that you're not stressed, they know when you are.
And they know, and your
They
animals
know.
in your house know too.
Absolutely.
Dogs barking,
Yep,
you know.
they
it's
do.
just-
It's like everybody
so
knows. You
true.
can't fake anybody out. Number 5, practice relaxation exercises with your child.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of parents will be like, okay, go meditate. And kids don't know how to do
What does
that.
that mean?
And like, what the heck? You know, but there's one activity that I show my kids how to do, because I hear all the time, kids come into my office and they're like, listen, I studied for my social studies test so hard last night. I knew it front and back. I got into class and I just stared at the paper. Nothing was coming up. Everybody was writing furiously, which was only adding to my anxiety.
Yeah.
And I couldn't access any of the information that I was taught. So this is what I tell my kids to do in those moments. And you can do this in a way where, you know, you don't look silly and it's not obvious to, you know, the rest of the people sitting around you. So when we get anxious, our bodies do this.
Oh yeah.
We
Shoulders come up.
Shoulders come up, we hold our jaw, we clench our fists, we cross our legs. So what I tell my clients to do is the first thing you're going to do is uncross your legs and just let them hang. So you're going to let them hang loosely, okay? Then you're going to unclench your fists, and you're going to do a quick shoulder rub to loosen that up. You're going to loosen your jaw, and you're going to take your hands like this, and you're just going to put them on your lap. You're going to take a couple breaths through the nose, in through the nose, out through the mouth,
Yeah.
and just sit with that for a second.
I feel calmer already.
But you will find that the information starts coming back to you.
Yeah.
And so it's so important how we hold our bodies.
Yeah.
And thankfully, in this digital age, there's some absolutely incredible online self-guided meditations. There's one that I really like to do with my kids at bedtime, and it's 10 minutes, and it just kind of walks them through relaxing their body, everything that they're holding tight, and that sort of thing, and helps them go off to sleep. So they can kind of download these on their phones and listen to them as they're falling asleep.
Yeah. Or even play something in your own head
Yes.
that you just, a mantra that you
Yep.
learn. So you can do it anywhere. You don't have to have a phone. You don't have to have electricity. You can just do it.
Yes.
Be able to self-control and self-relax and self-contain. And that's the whole point, is that we're in charge of what we're letting our minds do.
Right.
And it's how we're reacting to things or how we're not reacting to things that makes the difference.
You're so right. And like we were talking about too, if you've done all types of meditation with your child, if your child exercises regularly, if they're getting a great diet, if you're really teaching them to communicate well, and they're still struggling with the level of anxiety that's through the roof, I think a lot of times it's good to get some counseling so they can get their own toolkit of things that they can access in those moments to help them navigate it.
Thank you.
Oh, my
Very
pleasure.
good. And parents will take this advice, I'm sure,
Thank
and help their kids.
Wonderful.
Because every day is an adventure.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. If you want to see the show again, you can check out our website, and PCN is also on YouTube. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook to get up-to-date info. From all of us at PACTV, have a great week.